I want to see your text messages. I want to see the pictures you took of your wife. I'm sorry, that's my papers. And unless you have a reason to search and seize my documents, I'm not showing them to you. You don't have a reason. Well, now the government's come up with a new reason. The Department of Homeland Security doesn't believe in the Fourth Amendment and has recently issued statements to that effect. They're claiming that if you live within 100 miles of the international border, that would be southern Texas, southern New Mexico, southern Arizona, southern California, Washington, Wyoming, Idaho. I'm trying to remember my geography here. North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, New York, places like that, Maine. They're claiming that if you live within 100 miles of the international border, that they have a right to search all electronic devices, including cell phones, laptops, and tablets, without probable cause or first securing a warrant. The 100-mile distance is being referred to as the Border Security Search Zone. This would include cities such as San Diego, Escondido, El Centro, Yuma, Tucson, Las Cruces, Carlsbad, El Paso, Brownsville, Seattle, Grand Forks, Toledo, Cleveland, Erie, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and Montpelier, just to name a few. But wait, there's more. If you live anywhere in Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Rhode Island, DHS says the search zones encompass the entire state. Let's not leave New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia out of the fun, because large areas of these states are also being designated as search zones. If you live anywhere in any of the designated search zones, the feds claim to have the right to invade your privacy and conduct an unconstitutional search of your private possessions without any probable cause or warrant. Unreasonable. They don't have a reason to search you. If you ask me, this sounds a lot like the Gestapo under Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany, which is what I compared the Department of Homeland Security to in an earlier article. This just helps reinforce the claims. So if they can add to or take away from the Constitution, it's only because they learned it from who? They learned it from the preachers who told them, hey, there's a lot of money and power in this. If you can figure out a way to add to the Constitution. You see, we add to the Bible all the time and take away from it. And, buddy, we're getting filthy rich off of it. Plus, people are now believing that if they don't listen to what I say, they're never going to go to heaven. You see, it'll work for you. They learned it from the preachers. Gunmakers boycott. I like this one. Gunmakers boycott governments hostile to Second Amendment. In a turning of the tables, liberty-minded gunmakers and companies that supply firearms, accessories, and ammunition have determined that they've had it with anti-gun governments at the city, state, federal levels, even if it means lost revenue. By the way, did I tell you that we got hate mail? We got hate mail. From somebody in this area. We put a quarter-page ad in the county paper, and we're going to do it again in reference to our God, Guns, and Liberty conference. And a lot of good things are happening with that already. I suspect, I don't know if we'll have a crowd or not. I don't know. It may be another situation where we have about 30 people here and about 1,000 people watching on the internet, which is fine with me. I don't care the location of who we reach. It really doesn't bother me. But anyway, now the gun companies are boycotting the governments that will not take a stand for the Second Amendment. Here's a company called, this is from Breitbart.com, LaRue Tactical. Effective today, in an effort to see that no legal mistakes are made by LaRue Tactical and or its employees, we will apply all current state and local laws to state and local law enforcement. Government agencies. In other words, LaRue Tactical will limit all sales to what law-abiding citizens residing in their districts can purchase or possess. I like it. I like it. Olympic arms. That's what I used to have. Anyway, due to the passing of this legislation, Olympic Arms would like to announce that the state of New York, any law enforcement departments, law enforcement officers, first responders within the state of New York, or any New York state government entity or employee of such entity will no longer be served as customers. In short, Olympic Arms will no longer be doing business with the state of New York or any government entity or employees of such government entity within the state of New York. Good for them. Extreme Firepower, Inc., LLC. The federal government, state, and several states have enacted gun controls laws that restrict the public from owning and possessing certain types of firearms. Law enforcement agencies are typically exempt from these restrictions. EFI does not recognize law enforcement exemptions to local, state, and federal gun control laws. If a product that we manufacture is not legal for a private citizen to own in a jurisdiction, we will not sell that product to law enforcement agency in that jurisdiction. Templar Custom. We will not sell arms to agents of the state of New York that hold themselves to be more equal than their citizens. York Arms. Based on the recent legislation in New York, we are prohibited from selling rifles and receivers to residents in New York. We have chosen to extend that prohibition to all government agencies. Cheaper than dirt. Recently, companies such as LaRue Tactical and Olympic Arms, I used to have those, by the way, were prohibited from selling rifles and receivers to residents in New York. We have chosen to that was York Arms. Cheaper than dirt, doing the same thing. Alex Newman at the and this is just a commentary on it. I'm not going to read all of it. And anyway, they give the at the end of this article, they give companies to write to tell them to do the same thing. Glock Incorporated, Smyrna, Georgia. Sig Sauer Incorporated, Exeter, New Hampshire. Smith & Wesson, Springfield, Ma. Remington Arms, Madison, North Carolina. Let's see here. Write your favorite arms dealer and tell them quit doing business with the government. I think it's a good idea. Michelle sent me this one. 21 signs that U.S. public schools have become training centers for sexual deviancy. That's what they are. Training centers. This is where the kids are learning it from. This is why the sodomites in this country want to make sure that laws are passed in every state of the union that guarantees them a right to access your child. Are we crazy or what? What is wrong with us? Why would we do something like that? So here's according to this article, the following are 21 signs that U.S. public schools have become training centers for sexual deviancy. Number one, there's a raging epidemic of STDs, diseases, among our young people. According to the latest figures, there are 20 million new STD infections in the United States every single year. Americans between the ages of 15 and 24 account for half of those cases. Number two, many of our teens are catching diseases they can't even pronounce correctly. There were more than 1.4 million cases of chlamydia reported in the United States in 2011. 33% of those cases were 20 years and younger. At this point, 1 out of every 4 teen girls in the U.S. has had at least one STD. Number four, apparently all the propaganda about safe fornication, that's what the Bible calls it, it's not really working very well. According to one survey, 24% of all U.S. teens have had an STD, say that they still have unprotected fornication. Number five, when you take morality out of public life, the results are predictable. In the United States, approximately 47% of all high school students have had fornication. And it's one of 4 things that we were told as Gentile believers, stay away from it. Don't do it. By the way, I preached Sunday night. Brady was down preaching for Brother Reg Kelly. And that's neat. Well, if you're a preacher and you show up at Reg's church, he'll look at you and say, you're preaching. Better get up there. So that's what he did. So I preached Sunday night, and I preached on the law. The new law. Are Christians required to keep the 10 Commandments? And so I preached, and I just went through the New Testament to show you that as Gentile Christians, we are under a new contract. We're under a new law, a reformation, a new dispensation. That's what the Bible's telling us. Go watch it. I think it's been posted on our church website at sermonaudio.com. It is intended specifically for those who are being told by the Hebrew rootist that they must keep the OT laws to go to heaven. Vern in PA is my resident expert on the STD cult. No, not the STD cult. The SDA. Boy, I messed that up. Seventh-day Adventist. And he sent me some quotations from Ellen. And I'm telling you, and this is in preparation for, I'm continuing the King James Code series. You thought I was done. I'm not done. I've got at least 2 more videos to put out on that, on the sacred number 7. And these are going to involve the opposite of God. All right? How the devil, why does the dragon have, how many heads does he have? Why does the beast have 7 heads? What does it mean? What does it represent? Why was Jericho surrounded 7 times on the 7th day with 7 trumpets? Why was that? And I'm explaining that in this video. Why is the Sabbath day held in higher regard by the Seventh-day Adventist people than it is actually in the Bible? Because they don't just say, do what the commandment says, rest. They don't just say that. They say you have to go to church, and you are not allowed to go to church on Sunday. That's what they say. That does not come from the Bible, people. Don't believe that lie. You do not see anywhere in Scriptures where the Bible tells you that you cannot go to church on the first day, the second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, or sixth day. It doesn't say it in there. There is no prohibition for that, period. Why is it that they promote Saturday? Why do they do that? Why do they push it? In fact, I'm going to read you. I wasn't planning on doing this. Now Vern's got me all worked up here. I'm going to read you what Ellen saw in heaven. Did you know that Ellen White went to heaven and saw things? You got to hear this. You got to hear what this is, where the Seventh-day Adventists are getting their doctrine. They're not getting it from the Bible. They're getting it from Ellen. And so, to anybody who would ask me, why do I not believe in post-apocalyptic or post-biblical revelations? Why do I not believe them? This is one big, huge reason why I don't believe them. Ellen White is talking about how she had a vision from God, and God showed her all this. Now, my first question is, how do I know? Did you know if you go in court, you cannot testify as to what somebody else knew or they were thinking? You can't do that. You can't get up on the witness stand and say, well, she knew that I was going to go do this. You can't do that. Because in courts, it is known that there is no way in the world that one person can know the thought processes of another person. There's no way we can know that. So how do I know that Ellen even had the dream to begin with? How do I know that? I don't. And so I can't base anything that I believe or would believe, or I can't base anything that I'm supposed to watch for from someone who says, I had a dream. I don't know that they had it. I don't know that they had it. And if you use the proof, well, it came to pass, didn't it? What's that mean? Deuteronomy 13, God said, if a dreamer of dreams shows you a sign or a wonder and it comes to pass, then he says, let's go after other gods. There's your clue right there. It may come to